if I get a pretty decent shot, it'll probably be in there, honestly. So I'm gonna go right in the front there, and I'm gonna do the same thing again. I'm gonna try to track you.
All right, we can't let them down, boys. Got to get a good shot. If you're like me, and this year you're trying to create more interesting images, your photos might be too sharp. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Victor. Please subscribe, as it does help this channel out a lot and keep you up to date on everything that we got going on here at the channel. This year I'm really trying to improve my photography and kind of go out of my comfort zone and try some new things to create some more interesting images. What I've realized in the past couple of years of my photography is that I don't have too many photos that show motion. And that's something I really want to change, because motion in photography is super powerful. It can bring a certain type of texture to your photos, and it can also isolate a subject in a distracting environment. Now, I'm not taking photos of anything crazy, but there are a couple different car meets that are going to be going on this weekend that I want to go and photograph. And I want to use slower shutter speeds intentionally while photographing all these cars and throughout the event to see if I can create interesting photos in an otherwise uninteresting location. If you know anything about car meets, they don't usually happen in really amazing places. I mean, sometimes they do, and when they do, that's great. Like, definitely take advantage of that. But a lot of the times you have these amazing cars that are like collecting, you know, like in front of a supermarket or like a parking lot. And as far as backgrounds or locations go, not the most interesting, right? And so that's kind of why I want to experiment and see if using slower shutter speeds can just create more interesting photos compared to what I would normally do, which is just kind of freeze the action using higher shutter speeds. Now again, this is not like a new technique, but it's just something that I want to experiment with, and I might use it a little too much in this video, but really it's just for me to see, you know, what works and what doesn't work, and to gain a better understanding of how I can use this in like a photo set, for example, in the future, to create a more diverse, you know, set of photos that helps tell a visual story. Now, having motion blur in a photo isn't always the right answer. Sometimes the right answer for the photo, for the emotion that you're trying to evoke or the moment that you're trying to capture, sometimes the right answer is to freeze the action and to just have it super sharp. But sometimes it's nice to have a little motion blur and to bring a little bit of texture back into the photo. So that's what we're really experimenting with. You know, again, it's nothing new, but it's new to me. So I'll bring you guys along with me, and yeah, let's try it out. All right, guys, I just want to apologize for the somewhat shaky POV footage that you'll be seeing throughout this video. Please bear with me. I'm kind of in a trial period of trying something new, so it did get the job done, but sometimes it wasn't the best. Here, I saw this blue Ferrari. It was gorgeous, and I wanted to take some slow shutter zoom effect photos here on the badge, and I think it came out pretty all right. Even though it's not super tack sharp, I did like the kind of moody feel it gave. I'm doing something similar here, using similar settings, which I think I was shooting at like 1/4 of a shutter speed, and the lowest ISO that I could possibly shoot at, and also the highest aperture that I could probably shoot at, while also using an ND filter. So you have to filter out a lot of light in order to be able to do these kinds of photos, but I want to say for the majority of these photos, I'm sticking around 1/4 of a shutter speed, probably around somewhere around anywhere from 2 to 400 ISO with my 3 to 7 stop ND filter and using a high aperture. And the whole purpose of this is just to drag out that shutter. And so what you'll see me doing here pretty frequently is taking the shot, waiting like a couple milliseconds, and then dragging the shutter or dragging the camera in a completely different direction. And sometimes it made for a great photo, and sometimes it didn't, but it always did render something interesting. And if I didn't talk about the setup that I'm using, it's a Sony A7V with a Sigma 28 to 45. Pretty sweet combo, not a huge zoom range, but it did get the job done. You'll see, honestly, this came out pretty cool for like an engine bay photo. And I try to do something similar here with the headlights. You pretty much, it's just rinse and repeat. You know, I'm using as slow of a shutter speed as I possibly can, as high of an aperture as I possibly can, and then just kind of waiting a moment after the shutter fires and then dragging the image or the lens in a completely different, you know, direction to try and see if I can create some interesting motion blur. Sometimes, you know, it wasn't my favorite idea to do, so you'll see photos like this where it's just kind of like still photography, and I'm a sucker for taking photos of headlights, especially of interesting cars, so, you know, I had to get a couple of those, just standard and normal. And this is kind of what I'm talking about, is like, you don't have to necessarily overuse this, but I wanted to, because I wanted to see what was the most interesting results that I could get, you know, for the weekend. So you'll also see throughout this that I'm trying to kind of go in the direction of some cars. Like, for example, for this one, it's kind of like a sleek style car, and so I wanted to try and see if I could just drag out the shutter laterally to create something interesting. You'll also see me try to keep up with the motion of some of the cars here. So instead of just kind of making motion on a still car, I'm trying to instead see if I could just follow the car and track the motion of the car so that it's as in focus as it possibly could be, while the rest of the background is out of focus. I wasn't using necessarily the best settings that I could have, especially considering I just got this A7V. So it just shows, just test out your camera, you know, before you go and take it out on a shoot. But, you know, honestly, this was me kind of testing out the camera in some ways. But I wasn't using electronic shutter for like the first half of these photos. And it did not help me, really. I think it could have helped just using electronic shutter. So it's not exactly blackout free, but I do get like a higher, faster time that I can see the images popping up on my screen as I'm taking them. These are some extra photos that I got throughout the day. I think they all came out pretty interesting, and I think those were probably all of the photos that I was able to capture on day one. That brings us to our night meet. You know, this was a pretty cool car meet. Unfortunately, it got shut down pretty quickly, but I was able to get a couple shots. You'll see that I'm using a flash for these photos, mostly because the lighting was awful, because like we were talking about before, parking garages are usually not the most ideal, not just for location wise, but especially in this instance, lighting wise. So lighting wasn't in my favor, so I figured I might bring a flash. Although I didn't use it for this image right here. Just kind of taking normal still photos, but using the slower shutter speed to show the motion of people walking around the cars. And so maybe it makes it a little less distracting. I don't know. You know, we were just trying some things out, but this is probably the best image that I got. It was pretty cool. It was, you know, nothing super special. But then this is where I start using the flash to kind of create similar images to what we were doing in day one in the morning. And so I'm trying to use a slow shutter speed here as well. Low ISO, high aperture, take the photo, let the flash go off, wait like a millisecond, and then drag the, I keep saying drag the camera, but you know what I mean? Like, take the photo, flick the camera in a direction that you want to, and then see what you're able to get. And you know, again, I think I think some of these came out interesting, more interesting than they would have, in my opinion, if I just took still life photography of the cars. Just makes it seem like there's more going on than there actually is, which is something I like about photography, because you can kind of make a moment feel more, I don't want to say special, but more interesting than maybe it actually was, just by, trying different stuff. This one was a little wild. I don't necessarily think this works, but it is interesting to me. I don't know if I'd necessarily use something like that, but yeah. And you'll also see here that I'm kind of trying to switch it up, and instead of just dragging the camera laterally, we're trying to rotate it. I thought it did kind of accentuate this Mercedes logo a little distracting, but it's cool. And then, of course, we got shut down. So that didn't take too long. I would think I was probably here for like 20 minutes before they shut it down. And yeah, those are probably the best photos I was able to get day one in the night. That brings us to the morning meet the next day for Slush Sunday. Honestly, this was very similar to the nighttime shoot because there were so many cars, and it does end up getting shut down pretty early, unfortunately. But yeah, just kind of doing more of the same. There was this amazing Toyota Supra that was right here that I was trying to get a good photo, and there's so many people around, and I didn't match the speed of the car perfectly, and so I didn't get any great images, but I did get a good image of the rear side of the car, I think. It's pretty cool. It's very distinct because everyone knows what the Supra looks like. Did some similar things here for the motorcycles and some of the cars driving through the parking lot. None of these cars are moving very fast. The only reason why it looks that way is because I was using 1/4 of a shutter speed for most of these. And here I'm kind of trying to just take normal stills, just because this is a pretty unique looking car. And I don't necessarily think that a slower shutter speed is going to make the photos look any better. Like this came out pretty clean. Like I would probably make a poster out of that, potentially. The meet got shut down pretty quickly, and so this was my last ditch effort to try and get some cool photos. A lot of the cars were leaving and driving on this little highway, and so I was just trying to use a slow shutter speed and match the speed of the cars by following them. And this time actually using the electronic shutter. Pretty much everyone was just leaving, and I almost called it a wash because I didn't really get that many interesting photos, but this was just like my last ditch effort to try and get something cool, because every single one of these car meets just kept getting shut down early. And yeah, overall I think this did work. For the most part. I just think, you have to kind of mix it in there and use it when it's appropriate, not necessarily all the time. And so I'm probably just going to flash some of my favorite photos of the day up on screen now. How do you think this works? Is it like a nice way to switch up your photography, or, add some more interesting images into the mix of a set of photos? I don't know. You let me know. This was fun. I definitely think I'm going to use this more often. If you have any questions about anything, I know we went through this pretty quickly, let me know. All right, guys, appreciate you. Have a good day. Stay safe. Bye.